You will never find purpose until you face the thing that you've been running from your whole life. The moment that I stopped avoiding solitude was the moment I started hearing the truth, the moment I started hearing my truth. I used to chase people, I used to chase noise, I used to chase validation, I used to chase the other people's opinions, I used to chase everything to avoid being alone in my own thoughts. I had all these distractions, all these things that were going on inside of my mind, all of these problems that I've created because I didn't want to face that fear. But the truth was, until I faced that fear, until I faced the silence, until I faced myself, I couldn't lead myself, let alone lead anyone else. And what I discovered in that darkness becomes the foundation for everything that I've built today. I used to work fly in, fly out, and you may have heard this story before. I used to have these binge eating disorders, and then sometimes I'd feel so guilty that I'd try and shove my fingers down my throat and vomit the stuff up. And then I'd fast for a day or two. I would do excessive workouts 2 or 3 times a day, and I just was going around in this big cycle. The reason is because it was just one big distraction. I just couldn't stop myself. I remember sitting there and having like a plate of food and being like, my stomach was out here. I was so full, but I was like, why can I just not stop eating? I don't really know exactly what was going on at a biological level. What I do know at an unconscious level was I was avoiding, and it was just one big distraction of going through all of that to actually take me away from what was really going on. Obviously, it was like, something's got to change. I got to a point in my life where I didn't want to be here anymore. And so that kind of put me on a bit of a path to go, you know what? I need to change something about my life. I made the decision, and this is why I always say you're only one decision away from a completely different life, because in that moment I made a decision that I wasn't going to give up. I made a decision I wasn't going to give up that easy. Now, I'm not saying that things just changed dramatically overnight, that all of a sudden I made that decision and then my life was great, but it put me on a new path. Position in life doesn't change overnight, but your direction can. So I was heading down this way, down a very steep slope, but I changed direction when I made that decision and I started going this way. It was a catalyst for a new step and a new pathway forward. And if you think about it, the further you go along that pathway, the further that is from this pathway here. So I was heading down this pathway, I got to here, and then I shifted direction and I started going this way. And that distance gets further and further the more that I go, the more the time goes on. And that's why it only just takes one decision. And so I went down this path and I started learning all of these things. I started learning all of these books and reading all these books and reading all these articles and trying to fix myself, become more confident. But it wasn't until I actually took the time and invested in myself and went to a course that completely changed everything for me. I can remember walking out of one of those courses one day. People even said my eyes were different, and it's very common for people to look different and for their physical faces to shift when you start letting go of things. I've seen it time and time again. So I went through and my eyes changed, and afterwards I just had this new sense of confidence. I was walking down the street and I pulled out my phone filming a video, which I'd never done before because I was too shy to even look at myself. So that's what happens when you can change, and you can change fast, and you change the way of what's going inside of you. And so I started working through, and I started sitting with myself, and I started actually going within. I always say when you go within, you don't need to go without. Now I've done multiple Vipassanas, which is a 10-day silent meditation where you just do nothing but meditate and eat for 10 days straight. No phones, can't talk to anyone, anything like that. I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't do the work, if I didn't go into those things. But here's the thing, when it comes to purpose, your purpose is generally sitting right next to the hardest thing that you've ever gone through. Going through that then built this desire in me to want to change, to want to quote unquote fix myself. And once I got through out of that, I was like, there's so many men that need my help too, because I was in construction and I started helping other men. I'm like, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. One thing led to another, and here we are. We've built this movement, AMD. We've helped thousands of men, and it's my purpose. It's what I live for. It's teaching and helping men is the thing that lights me up. I can do that all day, every day, and I literally can speak forever and hours just because it was something that I had to get out and go through myself. The other thing is, back when I was younger, I struggled to communicate. I was in grade 5, like a 2-minute talk. The talk was about how to rig up a fishing line, but I was shaking that much that I couldn't tie the fishing line. I couldn't tie it together. And it was a very quote unquote traumatic experience, and all this embarrassment attached and all this. And I realized that I just wanted to be able to speak freely, and that built the desire fire in me as well to then start speaking. And that's why I love speaking so much, because I couldn't as a kid. The best way to find what really lights you up is to work through your stuff. Most people don't find their purpose in life is because they're still sitting in the stuff that's going to give them their purpose. They're still going through all of the hard times and the struggles that they're going through. That's not actually giving them the fuel to get out of that and then to give them the life force. Purpose is life force. I always say people don't burn out, they just lack purpose. So your purpose is right next to one of the hardest things you've ever gone through. If you can find that, if you can be with yourself enough, and if you can spend the time to dive deep and find what that is, when you can master the time being in by yourself with yourself, you will become whole from there. And that wholeness will then help you lead, will help you become the man that you know that you can be. So the part of me, fear of me being alone, which was the thing that was kind of along through my whole life, those were the things that put me on this path to find my purpose. And for me to live a purposeful and driven life, like I get up and I just love what I do. So if you want to find what lights you up, if you want to find your purpose, look through some of the hardest things you've gone through, and it'll be sitting right next to that. And it will also be sitting right next to those things that you didn't get as a kid. So when you can find them, when you can keep working on yourself, it will be revealed. I always say your purpose is always there. It just is revealed. You just have to have the awareness and get rid of the congestion out of your mind to be able to see it. So once you get to that place, life will never be the same. Share it with a friend, share it with someone, and every man must look at himself in the mirror and go within first. Otherwise, you're going to be living a surface level life, and you'll get to the end of your life and you'll have so many regrets. So don't wait for that. Go within, and you don't need to go without.